Hey, welcome back to Babbling Zoom. I actually wanted to share this crazy idea that I had a long time ago. Um, a lot of my notes, a lot of my posts were sadly deleted back when my friends were making this one blog group. But I mean, some of my notes are here. Especially like one piece of art that is I love. I spent way too much time messing around with it. Actually, hold on, I forgot about it. I'm back. Found what I needed. Okay, so first thing. Gonna share. Actually, no, let's not share right now. So here's what happened. Here's basically what it is. Actually, let me share. So a while back, one random thing happened to me. Long time ago when I was playing Final Fantasy Tactics. By this point, I think I pretty much beaten 7. And I wanted to pick up Tactics, and this was kind of like the first tactic games I actually liked, which is crazy. So pretty much almost done the game, found out about Cloud getting into it, started doing the Cloud, did the whole Cloud side quest to bring him in. And the side quest, as awesome as it was, did this one weird thing where it made me realize, what if all these games were kind of tied to each other? What if, like Zelda, there was actually one continuous timeline? So I started digging some more and started playing around, and surprisingly, it really was Final Fantasy 7 and Final Fantasy Tactics that got me down this whole rabbit hole of fun. We're kind of the most impossible thing to actually try to do. Did I play all of the games? Sadly, no. I kind of avoided 8. I tried the. Let's see. I don't think I finished 5. I barely touched 5 actually. I didn't play 8. I played a demo and I didn't really like it. And I didn't touch 10. Didn't touch the 13 series. Played 11 until I got dropped. I got led to a spot and stuck there forever, so I gave up. And after that, I just haven't played any of the new ones. So, 2, help me out. What I actually did was I stumbled on this guy, Oni Black Mage, where he does a full recapitation of a lot of games, which was great. It helped me out, remind me a bunch of other stuff and cool things. I really liked watching this guy's videos. So that said, this is not going to be a full it's not going to be a full idea of what's going to happen with this Final Fantasy linked idea of like this one full timeline. What this is, though, I'm going to break it up into parts. This part right now is actually going to be about how to understand the crazy that I created. That's the best thing to do. I have to make you understand the crazy. Because all of these games are so not connected, how in a way do I kind of put them all together, right? Surprisingly enough, there's a lot of little things that Final Fantasy does. There's a lot of moments in the game where what they do is tell you backstory of the world. And what's crazy is the first one that hit me was Final Fantasy 1. There's a moment in Final Fantasy 1 where when you walk up this circle of wizards, they tell you all the things that happened prior to you as you guys, your 4 light warriors, coming to help. So how do I connect all of this, right? So we're going to take a page from other video games, because let's be real, we're talking about a video game here. And the way video games are set up in huge open worlds is that even though you have this huge open world, this open world is actually more of a section of a grander scheme. Think Grand Theft Auto, think The Witcher, think all these games, right? When you're presented with the world, especially Grand Theft Auto, when you're presented with the world map, what you're actually seeing is a section cut out for you to play around with. You're not presented with the world, right? You're presented with a section, right? So here are the comment here in a way is that some of the connected things I want to introduce into this before we move on with other parts, right? So first thing, well, let's talk about the continents right away. The main thing is just consider it like Grand Theft Auto or like the Elder Scroll games, or just consider like one of those type of games where the entire world that the landscape, the world that you're working with is really subtle. Like it's really small compared to the vast mass. So every continent you're messing around with in Final Fantasy is actually just a continent of the bigger world. Now, the other thing that keeps popping up in these games is the concept that there is this weird protagonist, a bigger entity known as like Void or Chaos, where Light has to try and stop this, right? So it's a common theme that keeps popping up over and over and over again. Kind of this light side giving the warriors some power to try and fix the situation. There's this other theme of like an ancient power kind of helping out. Or as you dive deeper into the past, as whole this thing of this thing about like this ancient powers. These ancient powers are either gods or scholars, and as you dig around some more, you find more like the ancient library or understanding of like whatever's going on. Sometimes, most of the time, it's like the story of aliens or whatever. Now, the craziest thing is, one of the most interesting things is the fact that a lot of times these ancient powers are connected to the second moon. There's a constant reoccurring theme in most Final Fantasy games, and I probably think all actually, where the moon, there's actually two moons, and one of those moons was never there before. It's connected to something, which is awesome. So this whole idea of like this whole shared planet, yeah, because everyone remembers that the second moon is different than the main moon. Also, in most of these games, you have the concept of the crystals. 4 crystals of elements, often called, these elements of crystals usually call characters to help, or given power to these people. And even if there's like some of the timelines in Final Fantasy actually even shatter these crystals. 5 being the best example. Final Fantasy 5 shatters their crystals. And it's strange that after that situation, most games after that focus on materia or shards that give them powers. Surprisingly, 5 is the main one that started it. So Interesting idea. Along with that, there is this concept of a dark crystal. First kind of introduced in the first game, surprisingly. What this does is it introduces the fact that there might be a second dimension going on. This darker world, these darker crystals are kind of a split, a separate universe. And I wonder if this other dimension where maybe summons live is a world where once the ancient thing happened, they kind of ripped people apart, split the more powerful beings of monsters and magic and stuff into one world. Wow. Allowing the other races to live in another. Right? So these crazy ideas kind of create this interesting play, right? If you separate them all and don't look at them as a whole, it's like, oh, well, they just share common themes. But what if we can take these common themes and play around with it, right? So here's my idea. Here's what I'm going to approach next time, because I'm not going to try and do this now. The main thing I want to approach is this. Let's see, is that, yeah. Imagine if all the games are separated into 4 different timelines, right? And we're gonna dive deeper into these timelines. What if it was a time travel story of Final Fantasy 1, the idea of Garland and his whole romp. The story after Final Fantasy 1, when they fixed the timeline. Let's see. I have to remember my notes. Sorry. All right. So this, if I remember right, this is a timeline where we fail in Final Fantasy. Sorry, again, I have to look at my notes. Okay. So this is if you lose. And then this is if you continue on that platform. Right? So now again, sorry, doing this again because I remembered now. So this is the original storylines that we know of. The idea of going in, fixing Garland, trying to stop him. This tale retold replaces this timeline if we beat Garland, and replaces the original 2,000 years. This happens if you fail. This is a continuation of, yeah, Shattered Gears ends up showing off when popping up if you fail to stop Garland throughout the entire mess. And an Enter Dream happens if you do fix the timeline. All right. Again, I'll dive into it deeper. But hope you enjoy this crazy idea that pops up. And again, when I started creating this, I don't think I finished most of it. So hey, this could also be eventually become a collab, or people who actually care more about Final Fantasy than I do, because I'm just I like it. I don't dive that deep into it. But yeah, join me on my crazy idea. So again, if you're into Final Fantasy and want more of a recap, check out Onion Black Mage. His content's awesome. He dives even deeper into other things, just so you don't have to replay it, and yeah, see you.